Today on Capitol Hill, tensions flared inside a high-stakes oversight hearing as Representative Ramirez pressed the Homeland Security Secretary with a barrage of rapid-fire questions about constitutional authority, federal spending, and the limits of executive power. If you're new here and want more in-depth political breakdowns like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
Gentlelady's time has expired. I now recognize Ms. Ramirez for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, it's good to see you. I'm going to go straight to the questions because I have a lot of them. Let me start just following up with Congressman Goldman about judiciary. Do you agree that the judiciary is a co-equal branch of government and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land? Yes or no, Secretary?
We are abiding by all federal judges' orders, absolutely.
So, yes, it's a co-equal branch of government. Okay, well, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Do you agree that Congress is a co-equal branch of government, and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor legislation and appropriations duly authorized by Congress? Yes or no?
Yes, that's why I'm thrilled to work
Well, let me ask you the follow-up question here, because I have a lot of them. Do you agree that Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse? Yes or no?
Yes, that is a duty.
Do you
of
believe
Congress
that,
to be
let me
able
ask
to
you another
appropriate
follow-up, it's
funds.
just yes or no. Do you believe you have the power to disregard congressional appropriations and unilaterally repurpose funds that have been duly appropriated by Congress? Yes or no?
Ma'am, we are not doing that.
So the
We are
answer to
using
you is
dollars
no.
as to
All
how
right,
they
well,
were
it was a yes or
appropriated.
no,
We're ensuring the
Secretary. Let me
programs have
continue.
integrity.
Interestingly, you said no. But since you've been Secretary, you have repeatedly disregarded the law. You have illegally impounded funds that Congress appropriated and that your branch of government must implement pursuant to the law. Yet you've closed offices established in law, including the Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, the Office of the Immigration Detention Ombudsman, the Office of the Citizenship and Immigration Services, and you've canceled contracts for programs authorized in law, including shelter and service programs and citizenship and integration grants. You've obstructed and roughed up members of this committee as they attempted to conduct congressional oversight, and then you vilified them. But my question is, if they were so bad, why were they allowed to go in after to conduct oversight? Let me just continue. You redirected funds to terrorize our communities. You created taxpayer-funded political propaganda campaigns to terrorize families and children who don't sleep at night because of the terror of those commercials that you are putting out there. You hold sick, disrespectful press conferences in my state where, let me be clear, you are not welcome. You corruptly used emergency authority to avoid procurement to make Trump's private prison donors richer by directing $45 billion for them to expand ICE detention centers. You defunded work to address real threats to the homeland, all while you pursued college newspaper editors, labor leaders, and even a Harvard scientist who failed to declare frog embryos at the airport. Clearly, we don't have time for all my questions, so I have 13 pages worth of questions that I will be submitting to the record that I expect you and the administration to answer. But here is my final question to you. When you took your oath, did you swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
So I find it laughable. You don't behave like someone who takes that oath seriously. And let me tell you why. We don't live in a dictatorship or a monarchy. Trump's will is not the guiding doctrine of this nation, and our country is not a playground for his or your twisted authoritarian fantasies. We are a democracy. We defend the Constitution and we affirm the rule of law. We respect the co-equal branches of government and we uphold our rights, even when we disagree. The foundation of our nation is based on a core set of constitutional rights upon which our prosperity, our pluralism, and our peace depend on it. You, however, have been leading this work for 116 days. And in that time, you have profiled and dehumanized our neighbors. You've betrayed our constitutional commitment to due process. You've deported United States citizens. You've undermined the courts. You've broken the law. You've engaged in corruption. And you've weaponized the immigration system to violate civil rights. As Senator Murphy perfectly stated, your department is out of control. But you're responsible. You have betrayed the sacred fundamentals of your oath. And I believe to my core that you are not fit to hold the office. And I again, to your face, demand your immediate resignation. And I put it and place it on the record for all of us to see. With that, Chairman, I yield back.
General yields. Mr. Gabarino is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for being here today. I'm the chairman of the Subcommittee on Cybersecurity Infrastructure Protection, so I work with CISA a lot.
The exchange began with a fundamental question about the balance of power among the branches of government. Ramirez opened by asking whether the secretary recognizes the judiciary as a co-equal branch and whether he is obligated to follow the rulings of the Supreme Court. The secretary responded that the department complies with all federal court orders, a statement that seemed straightforward but immediately set the stage for the tougher line of questioning ahead. For more analysis like this, subscribe so you never miss an update. Next, Ramirez turned to Congress's constitutional authority, pushing the secretary on the power of the purse, which sits exclusively with the legislative branch. She asked whether he believes he can disregard appropriations or repurpose funds without congressional approval. Although the secretary insisted that his department is not doing so, Ramirez countered with a list of actions she argued amounted to violations of federal law. This clash highlights a recurring tension in Washington, one that surfaces anytime an administration seeks to prioritize or restructure agency operations in ways that lawmakers believe contradict legislative intent. If you are finding this breakdown helpful, remember to subscribe to stay informed. Next, Ramirez turned to Congress's constitutional authority, pushing the secretary on the power of the purse, which sits exclusively with the legislative branch. She asked whether he believes he can disregard appropriations or repurpose funds without congressional approval. Although the secretary insisted that his department is not doing so, Ramirez countered with a list of actions she argued amounted to violations of federal law. This clash highlights a recurrent tension in Washington, one that surfaces anytime an administration seeks to prioritize or restructure agency operations in ways that lawmakers believe contradict legislative intent. If you are finding this breakdown helpful, remember to subscribe to stay informed. Ramirez went further, accusing the secretary of shuttering or undermining offices established by law, canceling programs funded by Congress, and obstructing oversight efforts by members of the committee. These are significant allegations, not only because they question the legality of agency decisions, but because they touch on Congress's constitutional responsibility to hold the executive branch accountable. Her comments also reflect a broader political struggle over immigration policy and federal enforcement priorities, a conflict that has intensified across multiple administrations. If you appreciate having these issues unpacked clearly, be sure to subscribe for more reporting like this. The Congresswoman then criticized the department's public messaging strategies, accusing it of creating fear-based campaigns and misusing emergency authorities to expand detention capacity. She argued that these decisions have harmed communities, strained public trust, and distorted the mission of the department. Whether viewers agree with her claims or not, this exchange underscores how deeply polarized debates over Homeland Security and immigration have become, and how every administrative action is scrutinized through a political lens. If you want thoughtful context on hearings like this, go ahead and subscribe so you stay in the loop. The questioning ended with Ramirez asking the secretary whether he swore an oath to defend the Constitution, a question he affirmed. She then delivered an impassioned critique of what she described as authoritarian tendencies in policy and governance, framing the debate as a struggle to preserve democratic norms and constitutional safeguards. It was a dramatic close to a hearing filled with legal disputes, institutional tension, and sharply contrasting visions of how national security should operate within the bounds of American democracy. For continued coverage and deeper explanations of the moment shaping national politics, make sure to subscribe right now. If you'd like, I can also create a shorter version, a voiceover-ready script, or a video-style punchy write-up.